welcome to the first video edition of the Petrie Dish with your commish. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the Check Yourself Dads League. I've run a bit of statistical analysis today. To be fair, it's not groundbreaking, it's quite basic, but just wanted to throw a little bit out there and get the juices flowing, get the discussion cranking along, because it's been a bit quiet in between all of the LPWFs and the Stigbet phenomenon. So let's just break away from that and really get into a bit of juicy numbers, break down a few graphs. No visuals tonight, unfortunately, but just imagine there's a graph somewhere when we're going through this. Tonight on the panel, it will be myself, the commissioner of the league, but also speaking as a manager because I wear two hats. And also I've got special comments from my trusty colleague. He's been known to go apeshit. Doesn't like a couple of teams on the league, but I'll let him do a bit more of a chat later. Rightio, so I'm going to go first of all just with a basically a value difference pick. I mentioned this earlier. Just really looked at the pick overall number they went versus to where they are overall currently on the scoring chart. So look, I haven't taken any positions into account. It's not that type of analysis at this stage. Just really entry level 101. Is there a differential between the number you pick them and where they're sitting on the charts? So I've decided to go a top 10 to look at and a bottom 10 to look at as well. So basically your worst picks and then topics. So instead of top 10, I'm going to start down the bottom. We're going to go with worst picks. So at number 10, love to see old Davaris Rate have a go at this name. I'm not even sure if I can pronounce it myself, so let's give it a go. Picked up at pick number 61 overall in the draft. Goes to manager John Snow, also known as John Darby. No Women, No Cry. They signed Ali Jahambaksh. Not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good for me. He's currently sitting 295 overall, which gives a difference of 234 from his original position. So again, took him at pick number 61 overall and currently sitting 295. Next here, look, this one is probably explainable, and I certainly don't imagine to see him at this number come the end of the season. And that is Sonny down at Spurs. Davaris picking him up at pick 43, currently sitting at 279, which results a negative 236. Next we have one which everyone thought wasn't a bad pick, but it's taken a little bit of a while to get back due to injury, and on top of that as well, Berg Goodmanson is holding down his spot quite well, taking the corners, taking the free kicks. So Robbie Brady taken at pick 121, currently sitting at 373. Again, probably not a big call out there, and I do mention him later on in our chat, but that could definitely change throughout the season. This next one might surprise you a little bit. Taking pick 78 overall, again by the crafty Kings Meadows. They decided to go for a defender there, and they went by the name of Aaron Creswell, who is currently sitting 347. Now, I think he had an injury, minor, but he's not getting a look in at the moment for that team. So far, we've got 2 to the Kings Meadows and 2 to No Woman, No Cry. So, yeah, a couple of guys that are a little bit further down the table. You expect Dasher to be featured somewhere along here, and what do you know? Next, we do have him. But it's not one of the picks you probably think. He went a bit early on. He did go a bit early what we thought. Lacazette, for example. But Lacazette's actually returned quite well, given his early selection. Could have got him a little bit later, but that's another statistical analysis day. This one is pick 96 overall. Another defender, best defender in the world probably, Lovren. Currently sitting overall at 366, so that's a negative 270 difference there. Sorry, Dejan, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, I think, to start climbing those leaderboards. First showing here for Naby's key to success. Look, I can't really see a way into the side for this guy, which is sad because I think he's one of the better players in the EPL. Love watching him play. And that's Seski Fabregas. He picked 68 overall, currently sitting at 365. Obviously dealing with some injuries, but again, I just don't see how he's going to break into that Chelsea midfield. Minus 297. Now we're getting into the big numbers. This next one, again, injuries. A lot of injuries play a part in all this, and understand. That's why I'm not really taking these too literally. But Deulofeu, pick 59. Again, I'll repeat, pick 59. Currently sitting 368th overall. Now, all these guys are, all in and around 0 points on the leaderboard, so they're, splitting hairs. But 309 difference there for Deulofeu. These next three are very interesting. One you can probably excuse due to a little bit of injury. The other two are just non-starters and probably should never have been selected. Kings Meadows makes a third appearance here with Stefan Lichtensteiner. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. I'll let Dev send in a video reply on that. Pick number 143 overall. It's a bit of a junk pick, but currently sitting 547, which leaves 404, which is a massive, massive jump. The next one is Socrates for Arsenal, picked up by Sigurdsson at Stigurdson's, I should say, at 91 overall, which is pretty early. Bit of injury, hasn't really broken into the first team as well. 545 overall. It actually has the biggest differential in the game, and I was going to leave that to last, but I thought this next one was a bit of a special one. Probably mainly due to the fact that he, it was an interesting pick at 95, given that the situation that had occurred during preseason. Victor Moses, picked up by Jan Sommer. I'll find a way. Currently sitting at 544 overall, which is a differential of 449. But for me, that is definitely the worst of that bunch there. But funnily enough, not quite sure if I got worst pick for the round that I looked at, because there's a few shockers. Now, top 10, I'm going to whiz through these pretty quickly as well. Like I said, I might mention them a little bit earlier. Best, down number 10, I should say. Jan Sommer features here. Raul Jimenez, picked number 86 overall, currently sitting 18th. Which is pretty good return for old Raul, which is a differential 68 for those doing maths at home. Next, we've got another Jan Sommer special. So I was just loving these, ticking them off, going, yes, more ammunition to use against Joe. 106 overall and currently sitting at 29. So it's a 77 uplift there, and by all intents and purposes, he is playing a bit similar to what I imagine Trich would have wanted out of a Navigator, a bit more box-to-box sort of midfield and creating chances. This next one is a goalkeeper. There's a couple of goalkeepers in this one, and that is Edison for Man City, drafted by Dale. Went at pick 147, which is quite late when you think about a Man City keeper. Currently sitting at 66 overall with the 81 differential. Next, another Man City player. This one goes to the Stigmatron. Pick 150, very late. This player caused a bit of an issue last year in terms of his introduction into the league, Laporte Gate, a few of you might recall. Went at 150, currently sitting at 65 overall, so 85 differential. Well done, Joey. The next one is quite a good pick. A lot of people sort of saw this one when he was drafted. I was like, oh yeah, that was a good pick. Can't believe I didn't see that one. And it goes to Naby's key to success. Pick 133 overall. Currently seeing 41 on the overall scoring charts, and that is Daniel Ings finding some form he had at Burnley a few years ago. This next one is drafted by the Stigs, but no longer in the Stig team. There's also another player like that as well. Didn't quite make it onto here, but wasn't far off. Both from promoted teams. So this one went at pick 130. currently sitting 30th overall, and actually not in anyone's team, which was very interesting. At the time, I looked at it, potentially he has been picked up since then. 130th overall, currently sitting at 30th with a differential of 100, is Willy Bolly. Willy Bolly for the Wolves. The Wolves doing quite well. They were predicted to do pretty good this season, coming in, given the money they spent, but it's definitely coming to fruition there for Joey. Next on the list is last goalkeeper. Kings Meadows makes a show here. Pick 158, so the third last pick of the draft. Wayne Cognac Hennessy. They're currently sitting 48th overall, which is huge for any player, let alone a goalkeeper. Now on to the top three. Number 3 is pick 134, currently sitting 23rd overall, differential of 111. That is Callum Wilson, showing what he can do when he's leading the line there for Bournemouth. With Jermaine Defoe not in the picture. Well done, Dale. Great pickup. Number 2, another Bournemouth player, which is coincides with their very strong start to the year. 129th overall, currently sitting 10th in the points ladder, which is a differential of 119. Ryan Fraser. Well done, Fairfield Lemons. But number 1 is, and I didn't want to say it, but I have to say it, and this will just give him more ammunition at this stage. But remember, it is round 7, so don't get ahead of yourself, mate. Stigerson's Martyrs, pick 151 overall. Went the guy who likes all the pies, Troy Deeney, currently sitting at 26th on the ladder, which gives him 125 differential. Right, we're gone for 11 minutes now, so I'm going to try to wind up a little bit more. Pretty much based on those, I try to give a bit of a best and worst from each round. But maybe fluid, it's slightly deviated here and there. What I thought was maybe a bit unlucky in terms of injury or something like that. And I think they might have a bit of a pickup this season. No real science to it, Joe, no facts, just did it. So no bets being placed at this stage either. First round, I've gone for Aguero as the pick. He's beast mode. He is someone who's just banging them in. Man City just starting well, no injuries yet. Picked up a little niggle on the weekend, but he should be okay for the following weekend against Liverpool, you would think. On the flip side, we've gone from beast mode to yeast infection mode, I would probably say. Alexis Sanchez, that man is so infected that Jose just dropped him from the squad. Don't know where he's at. It will be very disappointing taking him. I was actually considering taking him at 4. I thought he might bounce up and about this season. I thought Mourinho might have worked out that he was losing the team towards the end of last year and might have made a few changes, but he hasn't. And thus down the hill he rolls. On to round 2. Great pickup here, picking up the pace. Mane for Naby's key to success. Really kicked off the year well. Great points early. Dropped off a little bit in terms of probably game performance the last couple of weeks. I don't think he's been that solid personally, but still having a pretty good output. While he's picking up the pace, we've got another bloke on the other end of the spectrum, Riyad Mahrez, who is picking up the splinters. Probably guesswork that was likely to happen, and Joe's going to hopefully put his faith in him having a stronger second half of the year if he can sort of start to push that selection in one of the wing spots. But with Sane hitting form as well recently, it's going to be hard to see him fit in there. But, anything can happen, especially with injuries. Pick 3 of the round easily. This is one of the ones that we sort of sent out to Twitter, and the Twitterverse responded with Sterling being the value pick of the draft. At round 3, he absolutely was. Dale nailed it. I nailed it last year and got rid of him early. He's definitely the teacher's pet. Pep loves him. Didn't have that great a World Cup, but he's flying in the Man City colours, and he's basically repaying Pep's faith. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got the namesake for the team, Naby Keita's key to success, Naby Keita. He is Pitch's pet, falling from grace. Touted as a box-to-box midfielder, but, can do everything. He's setting them up. He's banging them in the back of the net when he needs to. Big talk from Trich pre-draft. I think he probably reached for him a couple of rounds too early, and he's paying the price now. On to the 4th round, another namesake, Sigurdsson's. So Gylfi showing the form he had a few years ago when he went back to Swansea, which is great to see. Great to see for the Stigs, really. Last week worried me a little bit with a double. Almost put me on my ass, but it was Harry Maguire that outscored him and managed to win me the game. The next one for Bob Marley's No Women, No Cry, Ryan Sessegnon. So Siggy's sort of working the ghost of the past, and is Ryan Sessegnon the ghost of the future? I would say so at this stage. He's hasn't looked that dangerous, to be honest. Hit the crossbar at a glorious chance on the weekend. Really should have converted. So sorry, mate. Had to put him in there. Round 5. Look, round 5 there wasn't a lot to choose from in terms of the best. Milivojevic gets the nod there. Sorry, just had to re-record. Now, there wasn't much to pick from, to be fair, like as I said, but he's been doing enough, and he's got a few positions up on where he was taken. I thought he was a bit of an interceptor, but he's been putting in a few accurate crosses, which is quite interesting for a man in his position. On the flip side, we've got my mate, Moriata. Couldn't hit a barn door. He's been sort of pushed aside by Giroud, who has a bit of interplay with Hazard in the midfield of Chelsea. Giroud wasn't great when they were sort of squeezed a little bit by West Ham. So it'll be very interesting whether Surrey decides to go down that path of using Morata when he knows that the game is going to be a little bit more narrow, and maybe Giroud when it's going to be a little bit more open. But for the moment, he's staying well on the free agency list, one would imagine. At 6, we've got Trippier as the number 1 pick there for me. Deulofeu for the worst round of the pick there. I'm going to roll through them pretty quickly because I'm getting close to no battery and you're probably falling asleep. Next is one of the picks thus far, I do think, and everyone knew it when he took it, was Dale's pick for Maddison. He was scouted to be one of the people that are going to be creating everything for Leicester, especially in absence of Mahrez, and he absolutely has. He's been electric with a couple of goals to boot, so great work there. Another one here for the worst here for Trichy is Fabregas. He's gassed. He's done. I've already mentioned him, so I won't dwell on it. Round 8, best pick, Mitrovic. Mitrovic, wear your earmuffs. He's killing it. He's going to be Fulham's main source of goals, but he's actually achieving it, which is great to see for the Beaver Army there. And Tavares, worst pick there with Krez not so well, so he just hasn't bedded down a position there. Round 9, Jimenez, already spoken about him, great pick there by Sawyer. And the worst, another Tavares pick, Chris Wood. He's in need of some Viagra because his wood ain't stiff. Good dad joke. Now, round 10, flip side for Tavares, Ricardo, the Piera, the guy who had a very high projected score, but no one trusted it. Dev got on him. He's done great. And then the worst, no one should really trust a misspelt name, Socrates for Arsenal. 11, we've got me. This is my first mention, I think, in terms of best of anything. Shane Duffy. Very strong start for the season, and he's added a few goals and assists to his bow, which is great to see, and it's returned the points. Worst pick there, and look, there's a few here for Tavares, and I'm not a Dev. You pretty much stuffed up your draft here because that's what's pulling you down. Ward-Prowse, too many initials. He was always going to go bad. Round 12, Ndidi, I should say. Kante's replacement, starting to live up to his name, achieving what he needed to achieve. And then worst, Martial, tapping the boss's order, obviously. Not getting a game, started on the weekend, it was terrible. So I don't think he's going to get another go anytime soon. Round 13, we've already spoken about him. Little Scottish man, Fraser, killing it. Might face a bit of competition with Stanislas back in, but I think Eddie Howe will manoeuvre things to allow both of them in the side. Worst pick, Brady at this stage, but status is a little bit unknown. Round 14, already spoken about him, Callum Wilson, showing King how it's done. Charlie Austin for the worst pick there for Dash, not really doing anything. Danny Ings taking his spot there at Southampton. Round 15, Laporte Gate gets it there, and Liechtensteiner getting the worst there in round 15, but a bit of a junk one. And last one, Dev featured again, best pick there for me, Hennessy. So Dev's very roller coaster, and it really shows with his team. And round 16, worst pick goes to the Beaver Army with Lucas Perez. Second club is flopped at. It's probably curtains for him. Anyway, guys, that's all I got. I'm about to go flat on the battery, I dare feel. Paddington's had a lot to say. He's really enjoyed that, and I hope you have too. Have a lovely night, and hopefully I'll be back at the end of round 9 for a bit more of a look of a per team breakdown of how we've gone once everyone's faced each other. Signing off.